Hi, my name is Natasha and I'm a sculptor. I work in this place, in the studio. My studio is in San Francisco, in Mission District, on 2150 Folsom, and everybody is welcome. It's between 17th and 18th Street. I work mostly with clay, but I also like to incorporate bronze and welded steel parts to support my clay parts. This is my latest sculpture out of the series called Look What I Got, Doctor. Their bleached dry surfaces of their outside skin is being juxtaposed by the inside wet glazed parts. Um, this whole series has been inspired by my own personal problems, but I choose to reflect it in a way where the surprise, where the person is actually coming as if they're coming to doctor and unzipping themselves, showing the insides of their body, not being scary but rather beautiful. On the back there's another sculpture with the fantastical flowers coming out of her back, and I also have some fish and birds and bamboo shots. This sculpture has two cutouts where you could see from her front but also from her back. Her back is also open, and it creates an interesting view where you could see almost like through the window. And instead of depicting the spine, I decided that I will do the nest this time, so her whole body becomes as if it's a trunk of a tree with all the incisions and cutouts reflecting nature's roots and trees and leaves. Her texture of the inside of the nest is glazed, indicating that there's some life is going on, juxtaposed by the bleached and dried surfaces of her outside skin, which was exposed to sun and elements of nature, and so she looks as if she was found somewhere, not necessarily made by human hands. This sculpture is also the part of the series of what's called Look What I Got, Doctor. I call her Lola. I don't know why. It just appeared during my sculpting process, maybe because of her spikes, and she kind of reminds me of somebody from the Star Wars, and she has a fantastical kind of hallucinogenic flowers or mushrooms coming out of her back, and it's a very contemplative look and showing again to the doctor what she got on her back. So this is the back of Lola, or Look What I Got, Doctor, number 3 actually, because she was the third from this series. Number 1 and number 2 are in the gallery right now, which is an international gallery in San Francisco. Represents the European artists. And her insides again are wet compared to her dry surface of her body, and her tattoos are different. And I was looking at the different scientific magazines and trying to see inside the cell or create a similar tattoo which would be reminiscent of the cell. To make such sculpture like this, it would take me about 3 weeks to a month to go through the process of building it from the sketch. When I start the process, I usually start with the idea in my head. Then I do tons of sketches in my sketchbook, and before I actually do a larger version, I do a model, a smaller version of the sculpture, so I know which way to build it, because I work with slabs. They're pretty light considering their size. so I build from the bottom up, going up. So that's why I need to know which way to build them, because once you build one layer, you need to wait until it will dry slightly in order to put another layer up. So that's why you need a little model. So to create the sculpture like this, it takes about 3 weeks to a month to complete the process. And also they've been fired at least 3 times, because first it's called bisque fire, when you just fire the sculpture without any application of stains or glazes. And then next time you apply stains, and next time you apply glazes, and if you're happy with the result, then it takes only 3 times. I usually do from 4 to 6 times of firings, because I'm very interested in this kind of a look, as if it's not been necessarily made by human hands again, but weathered by nature, as if it was under the sea or bleached by sun or weathered by wind. So all of those elements are very important to me. This is another sculpture from the same series, Look What I Got, Doctor. And as you can see, she has an opening in her body, and there are fish coming out from the insides. And again, they're very alive and has been glazed with different glazes. And her body tattoos are very similar to some seaweeds and some fishnet here. Her hood is very interesting, as if it's made out of bone of the fish itself, and there's a little fish growing on the vertebrae of her spine. She was the first one where I decided to actually make an openings from 2 sides that you could actually see right through her. I'm also very interested in how the negative space works against positive. All of those negative space right there are very important to me. This one is also called Look What I Got, Doctor, and she's number 4 out of the series. She's a warrior. So I started with the more humble one, which has roses growing out of her spine, but her look is very she's not really sure what's going on with her. The more I've done with the series of those works, the more proud they became. They know that there is a beauty growing inside of them, and there is nothing scary about it. So this sculpture has a bamboo shots coming out of her body. I make my own glazes because I'm interested in the effect, as if it was patined by time. So it has a lithium, which creates this very interesting effect, which most commercial glazes don't have. That's why I create my own glazes. And the incisions on the body are being covered with stains, but also white engobe. And engobes are they work like underglazes. They're pigments with clay, mixed with clay, so that's why it looks dry compared to the glazes, which are looking kind of wet. So she's my warrior, and there's a key on her, between her breasts, and a fish here kissing or eating each other. So their tattoos are also telling stories. The more you look at them, the more you discover what could be there. This is the series of the works, which is called Fishing for Answers. And you know how we as human beings are very interested in finding and answers, and this is like fishing for answers. Those figures, they exist within an egg, and they're being supported by bronze supports. So that's actually, those parts are very intricate, and that's how they could actually hold the clay. Otherwise, to create something like this out of clay would be almost impossible to have all the weight on top of it. The person is holding a fishing pole with some kind of a enigmatic object, because it's not always clear what kind of answers we're fishing for or what kind of questions we're having. So I'm playing with that idea, and there is a bird instead of a person's head, because this is his arm holding a pole. This is the sister of the same series, called Fishing for Answers as well, or sometimes I call her Allegro con Spirito, because her hair is being ended with as if it's a musical instrument, like a violin or cello, and the gaze is very contemplative, as if she looks inside of her trying to find an answer, and she's floating above, which could be water, and this is like a seaweed or some kind of a support which supports her. And the egg now becomes something in between the fish or a bird, so it becomes a transportation device, which brings us to this piece, which is also comes from that series. It's called Safe Haven. It's as if this is the nest, and the ship comes and finds its safe place there. So there is a little cutout of a person there. And again, the egg, my favorite part of the sculpture, becomes a transportation device, and the nest has legs. I'm very interested in mythology and intertwining different mythological elements within my sculptures. If you'd like to purchase my work, you can do it from this website.